It's making money out of poverty, this, isn't it?
And the victims, trapped in the ever-increasing spiral of borrowing, tell us why living now and paying later has cost them so dear.
I can't face it, having all the pressures again, because I don't know what it might do to me. It's really frightening.
Christmas is boom time for the home credit industry.
At Christmas time, when you're a single parent with 2 or 3 children perhaps, you've got no Christmas presents prepared for the big day. When someone comes knocking on your door and offers you that amount of money there for you to go and, meet that need, you're going to take it.
In Britain today, 3 million people rely on high-interest loans sold in the home. Kevin McGeehan was approached by Provident Personal Credit. The market leader in this business, they have 1 million customers.
It's like everybody this time of year. I come from a big family. I've got a lot of people to buy for, and I'm only on a low income. I've got more outgoings than I have coming into the house, sort of thing. A bloke came canvassing at the front door. He offered these £50 shopping vouchers.
It's against the law to cold call selling loans, but they can sell shopping vouchers, redeemable at big stores like Argos.
If it's, after a few weeks, if it's looking good, the money's always there, they're pleased to see you, then that gives us already a foot in the door to say to the customer, by the way, we are also issuing loans.
As soon as you're recruited, as soon as you take that £50 book of vouchers off them, within 24 hours the agents can actually come knocking on your door and then start talking to sell your loan.
I had a phone call off the guy, and he says, oh, well, you can have anything to £200.
The big appeal of cash in the hand, brought to your own home, is often hard to resist. And with loans carrying an APR, an annual percentage rate of 164%, Kevin counts himself lucky that his loan offer was never approved.
It is a quick fix, a small time of happiness, perhaps over the Christmas period with all the presents bought, but then 12 months of misery and problems.
Provident urged their agents to constantly find new doors, new customers. But once inside the door, how do their agents operate? The internet offers one view. This is what Provident has to say about the relationship between its agents and its customers. Nowhere in the list of virtues that the agents believe they bring to the job does the ability to sell appear. Selling, agents say, is what double glazing people do, not us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, thank you. Welcome, everybody. And may I congratulate each of you on becoming self-employed agents of Provident Personal Credit Limited.
Yet the company's own sales manual, dramatised here, tells a different story.
How do we sell it? Now you might be saying, hang on a minute here. I am not a salesman. I've never done that kind of thing in my life, but don't believe it. Otherwise you wouldn't have got where you are. You wouldn't be here. Everybody has natural selling ability. So don't forget, you can sell.
It's a sales company. That's what the agents are there for, to sell and collect. Like any business, it needs to sell, make a profit.
Train yourself to notice things. If you're coming up the side of the house and there's the car there, have a quick look. When does the car tax run out? Make a note of it in the diary for the future. Could be useful. Get them talking. Ask them, where are you going on holiday this year? Don't know, we can't afford it. Haven't thought about it. Worth a thought. Try and chat. Be persistent. Let them know that they can have what they want for the future today.
Chris Trinder was sold this live now, pay later dream and bitterly regrets it. While working as a low-paid packer and part-time breakfast cook, he took out a succession of loans with the Provident, beginning with a £100, then 400, and finally a 1,000. Each loan paying off the previous one. It's a practice the company encourages. It's called refinancing.
We've been told on company meetings that it's refinancing that makes the money. You know, this snowball effect, this rolling over effect, that's where the money comes from. If we ever had a customer that paid up, just had a loan and paid it on the term and paid up, that was classed as a failure.
She says that if you're interested with another loan, you can have it. But if you had it, we'll have to take so much off what you owe on the other loan. So you only get so much of the £1,000. And then I said, fair enough, take it off and I'll have it because I could really do with it because I was struggling near to Christmas as well.
What they're actually doing is they're actually taking out a loan with a large rate of interest to pay off a previous loan that is still running and had a large rate of interest as well, thus multiplying the APR to extortionate levels.
To borrow £1,000, Chris had to repay nearly £1,600, which left him paying £30 a week. Just about manageable with 2 jobs, but impossible when he found himself on the dole.
I was not going anywhere. I just fell apart completely.
Chris was confused and didn't understand the APR, the annual percentage rate on his loan. Here, Provident's website, yet again, makes interesting reading. Most customers are concerned that the loan is good value, but they do not work out its value by looking at the APR. They have an instinctive awareness that they're getting a good deal. Were you encouraged, as a representative of Provident, to explain to them the APR?
No, not at all. No way. In fact, we were told right from the start when I joined the company, the sort of people that we work with, they don't know about APR, they don't want to know about APR, and that we shouldn't tell them unless they ask.
Well, we asked Barry Harrison, a senior lecturer in economics, to take a look at Chris's 2 paid-up loans and calculate the effective annual rate of interest.
Well, in the first case, he's been paying an effective rate of interest of something in the order of 340, 350%. In the second case, because he borrows the money for a longer period, it works out to be slightly less, somewhere approaching 300% is my estimate. I think it's an appalling deal. I certainly wouldn't advise anybody to borrow money at these rates.
The question has to be asked whether it's morally right to be charging people who are low-income families, some who are unemployed or on state benefits, such high rates of APR, which, you know, in reality, they can't afford to repay.
They're charging more than what the banks are charging. Now I'm starting to get threatened letters. I'm going over the hill. I don't know which way I'm going.
Chris has fallen behind with his Provident payments and now faces court action.
And there's other bills on top, and then we're starting to pile up, and I can't keep up with any of them now.
He's not been paying his rent and could lose his council flat.
I'm praying to God I don't, because I'm trying to get this place done up really good to make myself a liquor home.
In part 2, Chris fights the threat of eviction and the shame of a debt collector, taking pennies from a single mother to secure his boss's bonus.
Disgusting, what you have to do. I felt terrible about it.
Today, Chris Trinder faces a crisis. Trapped in a spiral of debt, he could now lose his home.
I've got to go to county court today over my rent arrears, and I'm worried that there's a chance of me losing my flat today. But I don't know what's going to happen, what the judge might turn around and say. If he turns around and say, can you pay an extra couple of quid a week, and I turn around and say yes, there might be a chance of me keeping my flat on. So I just keep my fingers crossed and see what happens from there.
Chris's case is very typical. We find a lot of people coming into our office here with similar problems to Chris. The big attraction is the easy access to the money. I mean, the money is there with the agent. She's able to do an on-the-spot assessment in the home and issue the money there and then.
But should the Provident have lent such a large amount to Chris?
They should have said no straight away to me for the £1,000. The £1,000 put me under a lot of pressure.
It's all rather surprising for a company that boasts such a long history of responsible lending. The business was founded in Bradford in 1880, providing small loans for working men in the city. Today, the company is worth over £2 billion. And the key to their success? Well, the answer's on the website. Under the title Home Credit, we have what we might describe as the company's mission statement. It says, Provident is successful because it cares for its customers. Because it cares for its customers, it lends responsibly. But was it responsible to lend to this woman? Last year, Teresa Osborne suffered a mental breakdown and was treated at Highcroft Hospital in Birmingham. While on home leave for Christmas, she had a visitor.
The Provident came. They came to see me and asked me if I wanted another loan for Christmas. And I says yes, and they gave me £150. And I signed some papers. And then that was it. They went. They didn't ask me if I'd been in hospital or anything.
Provident create a relationship with their customers. Remember, Provident is a responsible lender. When considering applications from potential customers, we appraise all applicants' personal and financial details very carefully. You must not consider applications from potential customers of a mental capacity unable to understand the terms and conditions of a credit agreement.
Do you think they should have lent you the money?
No, not really, no.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think they know they prey upon people that have got no money, and people have great difficulty in paying it back.
But why risk lending to people like Teresa? The answer may have a great deal to do with commission and bonuses.
Now, as agents, you're going to earn your money by earning commission. And the way to earn top commission is by recruiting a constant flow of new customers. And don't forget, for each new door that you open, that means there's a bonus for you. That's £5 for every new customer introduction.
When you're earning on a commission basis, when you're taking a percentage of what you collect, the pressure is on for you to collect. The pressure is on for you to sell. You know, and that's sadly one of the flaws of the system, and a major flaw, I believe.
To secure a cash bonus, some Provident area managers have been known to pressurise staff to collect the tiniest sums.
I really felt bad because the house was virtually empty. It was a young girl who was a single parent. But because I was under so much pressure from the area manager, that I actually stood there and said, I can't leave until I get £1. And she ended up emptying the kids' piggy bank and giving me £1 in 1p and 2p pieces. And I sat in the car and I couldn't believe what I'd done. It was just the pressure that you're under.
Let's get this absolutely clear. You got a single mother to empty her child's piggy bank of £1 so that your boss could get his bonus.
Yeah. I mean, she's disgusting.
Phil says he openly objected to such actions. This made him unpopular with his bosses. Then he was sacked after the Provident claimed he falsified his expenses. Phil will contest this at a forthcoming industrial tribunal.
They would say, of course, that you're saying these things because you've got an axe to grind. You were sacked for fiddling your expenses.
Yeah, that was the official reason, but I never fiddled anything. All I tried to do was to do the job properly and do it in an ethical manner.
Our other whistleblower, George, quit ashamed of what he was doing.
At Grassroots, we were having to go out to people who had got into bad arrears. We actually had to collect very small sums of money from individual accounts, perhaps 50, 60, 70 pence, just to massage the figures. They're very vulnerable people out there, and the poor are the most vulnerable, and the elderly. Personally, I felt that I was a loan shark, and that's not a very good title to have. So I wanted to be rid of it.
Both George and Phil are now seeking work elsewhere in the financial industry, and that's why they asked not to be identified. In Birmingham, Chris Trinder's eviction hearing has just finished, and he has some good news.
They give me a bit of a breathing space so I can pay me rent, and I've still got my flat for the time being, and I'm just a bit over the moon over it. At least I've still got the flat, my shelter and that, instead of being on the street.
But the battle with the Provident goes on, and Chris has turned to his MP for help.
You must have felt you were in a bowl of concrete, you know, just the faster you move, the further down you went with all this pressure on you from the Provident. It's an extremely profitable business, and they pick on people in miserable circumstances who they know they are ripping off because they have no credit worthiness. Mr. Trinder, unlike me, couldn't go to the bank or the credit card company and say, I want to borrow this, that and the other, because he's got no credit worthiness. Now, they trade on this, and they know this, and they know that in the process of doing this, they're going to get extortionate rates of interest. And I think that we should be on the side of people like Mr. Trinder and stop them doing it. It's making money out of poverty, this, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, you remember there was a fella who threw the moneylenders out the temple once, and I think we ought to be doing the same again. The one unsung hero in all this are the credit unions. I'm happily a member of the 100th member, as it happens, of the Erdington Credit Union, which was set up about 10 years ago. The interest rates there is 1% a month.
Credit unions are being established all over the country, often in areas where there are no banks or building societies. DIY saving and lending on a small scale.
Hello, Deb. How you know? You okay? Yeah, not too bad. Is it a full 20 today, or...?
In places such as Castle Vale in Birmingham, they're proving to be a real alternative to home credit companies.
How much money are you putting in today? 20 pence.
It helps us to stay away from loan sharks because we're getting a better deal out of the credit union. I think it's one of the best things that's ever been invented, to be honest with you.
Hello, Ian. £5.
The interest rates are very good. I think it's 12%, which is a lot better than any other loan people.
Hello, darling. Hello. How much you putting in? 20 pence. Good girl. Thank you.
The credit union is absolutely tailor-made to help people like Mr. Trinder, people who have got nowhere else to go to get credit. You help each other, but you don't rip anybody off in the process.
If Chris had been able to borrow his £1,000 from a credit union, he'd have paid about £60 in interest. Remember, his loan with the Provident was set to cost him £600. Now, no laws have been broken in Chris's case or any of the others we investigated, and the Provident insists there's nothing wrong with the way they do business. We asked the Provident for an interview on the general principles raised within this film. They declined, wanting more details about the customers who'd complained. But they did offer a statement which said they had a high level of customer satisfaction. Shopping vouchers were a service much valued by customers. Their agents were not paid sales commission, and refinancing was a normal procedure in the world of consumer credit. Anxious for a face-to-face response, we questioned industry spokesman John Lamaday.
You're trying to purport that home credit is somehow different from the rest of the credit industry, the bank loans, the credit cards and so on, that everybody else manages to enjoy. No, the systems are entirely the same. The only difference is the products are tailored to the needs of our particular customers because they live on fragile incomes. I spent a year going round with agents, around with members of my association to find out what happened. And I've been in the houses, I've seen the relationships, and the vast majority of customers are extremely happy with the service that they get. And what you are characterising is not what actually goes on, and the people you've got characterising it have got their own vested interests in this, haven't they?
When's the car tax running out? Make a note of it for the future. Could be useful.
I would regard it as an action of a friend.
Would you?
If somebody came to me and said,
your tax disc is out of date. Are you okay to be able to renew it, or have you got a problem? I would regard, a friend of mine would be welcome to do that to me, of course. The whole point is that we do have good relationships with our customers.
They didn't mention 164%.
The APR doesn't tell you the price of anything. What does tell you the price is how much you have to repay a week. So if you're borrowing £100 and the charges are £40, you now know that the cost of that credit is £40. The APR will change on that depending on whether you borrow it over a few weeks or a few years. In this case, the lady concerned was allowed to pay only £1 a week, so the man was doing his job properly in attempting to collect that. If even that was too much of a problem, there is no reason at all why other arrangements could not have been made and are made in very, very many cases.
But these men we spoke to felt ashamed having to collect these tiny amounts of money. The one said he felt like a loan shark.
Well, I think that's an easy thing to say when you're in front of a television camera because you're expected to say things like that. I don't think that you should try and demonise an industry that is actually helping people, whereas everybody else is looking at this from a very middle-class perspective.
But if there's no problem with the home credit industry, why have 90 MPs put their name to a motion calling for tougher regulation and an interest rate ceiling? Evan, just how big a problem is this in your view?
Well, this is a big problem because a lot of people are affected and large amounts of money are being drawn out of the poorest estates, the poorest people in society, in order to fund quite healthy profits, some would call them obscene, from some of the companies involved in this form of credit. If some of the lenders are getting round the prohibition on cold calling for cash by offering vouchers, then that has to be prohibited as well. What applies to cash has to apply for vouchers. The law should be changed. I think we have to look at whether a statutory maximum interest rate would be a way of protecting some of the worst excesses of this business. And my campaign, which has all party support, has called for a statutory maximum interest rate, as applies in Holland. There are similar restrictions that apply in Ireland. It has worked there.
The government is currently re-examining the protection the law offers consumers against so-called extortionate credit. Some campaigners say it's time to get tough with the home credit industry.
What we would need, I think, really is a proper regulatory system which allows the Office of Fair Trading to go and check files, to get consumer feedback, if you like, about the way that loans have been lent, whether or not they're happy with that, whether or not the borrower could have repaid the loan or was already in difficulties with the loan that they had at the time. And I think at that point the Office of Fair Trading ought to be empowered to remove somebody's consumer credit licence.
Effectively, to put these people out of business?
Well, effectively so, if they're not lending responsibly.
Any change in the law will be too late for people like Chris Trinder, who is now busy drawing up a debt repayment plan.
Okay. Now, what I've done with your home collected credit debt is I've written to them and I've offered them £1 a month. In my experience, the company should accept those payments. There is always a possibility that they could threaten you with court action.
Oh, yes.
But if you're doing your best to deal with the situation and you're making payments, then for all intents and purposes that shouldn't happen.
It's been a tough 12 months for Chris. He's lost 2 jobs, watched debts pile higher and higher, and nearly lost his home. He's learned some hard lessons and won't be opening his door to any more loan arrangers.